All right, now that I've sent you off kind of exploring other data that's out there, ultimately we have to take all of this and we have to turn it into a base map that we can use and that we have control over the layers. Whether we're going to use those layers as part of, developing, some kind of layered Photoshop master plan down the road, which is certainly a possibility that would, come out of this process. You could probably see some of you may have gone and grabbed the forest cover layer or other land cover information, and you can drop that in over the top. You see as you zoom into scale that there certainly are some issues we're going to have to talk about with raster data as the semester progresses. But ultimately it comes back around to you got a bunch of layers, they're information that you want, now it's time to get them out into Photoshop so you can actually start to manipulate this and turn it into either final graphics or the base map you're going to use to start developing your design, right? We can pick and choose what we're going to do later, but I would suggest turning everything on. Again, I've got this set up at 11 by 17. I've got my accurate graphic scale. I've got a north arrow on it. Everything's ready to go. And absolutely at this point in time, I could turn off every layer and export them one at a time out to Photoshop, right? Go ahead and change the symbols, do whatever I wanted at this point in time, right? Go ahead and adjust, it looks like this is too small. Let's turn that up. I actually want it maybe to be a big white boundary that goes around this, whatever that might be, so it actually stands out whether I'm here on the LiDAR hillshade or I'm on here, and I might want to look at my symbols, and I might want to go to light gray for all of my topo, and those are all certainly possibilities that exist out there of things that we might want to do to edit this information that's sitting here in front of us, right? Same thing could go for the highways, is that maybe I actually want those to read as highways, and there we go. Right, but once I'm comfortable and have all of my information on, I highly recommend turning everything on, because I'm going to show you how I do this, which is that I eventually get to a point where I have too many layers. It's too complicated to, or it takes too much time to kind of go through the process of going an individual layer at a time out to Photoshop. And so instead, what I do is that I go ahead first and I save my drawing. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to export the whole map. And instead of exporting it as a TIFF, instead I'm going to export it as AI. What AI stands for is Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is the vector-based version of Photoshop. And what's going to happen here when I go ahead and save this, and I need to actually go save it in my folder. Where we go? GIS, there we go. I'm going to save it right here. Base map instructor, looks great. Is that I'll be able to go in just a second and come over here to my GIS folder, and I'll be able to open this up. I'm going to update all of that. That's fine. And what you're going to see once I brought it into Adobe Illustrator is now I'm throwing a whole other chunk of software at you, right? And so if this is overwhelming in any way, what I want you to do for the assignment is go back and just repeat what we've been doing with Photoshop, right? Don't worry about this. Just stop. You can even stop listening, or you can just watch this, see that this is a method, a technique that's out there. But I want you to create a high quality base map of our site using whichever layers of information you want in Photoshop, right? That's where we're going with all of this. But before we get there, what I'm going to show you is that I often come into Adobe Illustrator first. And the reason for that is that Adobe Illustrator allows me then to go straight from here, and I can go to export, and I can do an export as, and here I can actually go straight into a PSD Photoshop file. When I click on export, it's going to bring up a menu, and it's going to actually ask me if I want to write the layers, and I obviously do. I want to keep those layers there. I never need anything at 300 resolution, but I can adjust that in Photoshop in a minute, and away I go. So this is the quick way. I could just go ahead and hit OK and click, and away we go. Again, if that's all you're comfortable doing at this point in time, maybe this gets you from GIS to Photoshop a little bit faster than exporting each one of those as individual TIFFs. But because I don't leave well enough alone, what I actually go in here is that I will often come in and I will start to edit each one of these layers. So I'm going to come in and check each one of those. This other layer just happened to be a boundary layer I don't need anymore. If I look at contours, those look actually okay. I'm going to leave that alone. But the parcel boundary, what if I really just don't like the way that this parcel boundary, and so that's that white boundary you see in the drawing. Well, so one thing that happens in the process as things come across, and this is going to sound bizarre, the only way to make GIS speak directly to Adobe Illustrator is that when they come in, it kicks it in with a clipping path, and I'll show you. The clipping path is actually a boundary around the entire layer. In order to get rid of this, I have to hit Control Alt G. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to select it, the clipping path for my Memorial Park parcel. I'm going to hit Control Alt G, and then I'm going to hit the delete key. And what I've now done is that I have now created an individualized layer that I can come up and I can go in and I can change it up. And so something I might want to do is I might want to change up and make it into a dashed line, right? And maybe I actually want to increase the size of that. 25. There we go. Anyway, I can play around with this. 25. Oh wait, maybe I want to go the other way. 10, 5. Well, anyway, you can start to, oh, it's because the line weight's off. So I got to make sure again that I've got all of that layer selected. So I have that whole group selected, and then I have to, there we go, turn that down. Now I can get away with a 12.5, right? And now I have a dashed line that goes around it. Same thing goes if I want to go ahead and edit the highway layer. I need to go ahead and open it up until I find the clipping path. I'm going to select the clipping path, Control Alt G, and then I'm going to delete the clipping path. And now that I've done that, click on the clip group. I can come in, I can change the color at this point in time if I just want it to be black. I can, again, by grabbing that group, I can come in and I can adjust the line weight and make it bigger, make it smaller. I can make it a dashed line if I so wanted to. I could also add arrows onto it if I felt so, felt that added in any way to my drawing. Right? There's lots and lots of things that can be done here. You can actually even come in and start to change out what kind of line you have. You can change out, lots of different settings, so you can put arrows in and all kinds of things. This is totally up to you. If you want to make any adjustments, that's fine. Whenever you're done messing around with it, though, whenever you've kind of gotten to that point where you've gone ahead and gotten all of these, and so the only other one that I'm going to mess with real quick is I can't see all of the lines right now for the other than my property boundary. I can't see all of the other ones here. So I'm going to go to the clipping path, select it, Control Alt G, select it again, hit delete. Then I'm going to clipping group, grab all of those layers, and again I'm going to go ahead and in this case I'm going to actually change them so they're all white. I'm going to increase their size so we can actually see them, and put a dash line in on all of those and drop it back. And you're going to see that what happened there is I actually don't need my shape file for the Memorial Park parcel to be turned on. It's actually hiding some of that line work. Anyway, so I can make some adjustments here, tweak anything that I want to tweak, make all those changes I want, and then when I'm all said and done, I just go ahead and, let me go ahead and center that back up. I can go ahead and turn that back off from that layer menu, and I'm just going to go ahead and go to Export As, Photoshop, File. There we go. Then I'm going to open up Photoshop and resize it so you can actually see it here on my video. Right? Go into Photoshop, open this up. And there it is. There's my instructor layer. Right? And I actually want to be able to see my layers. One of the things that might help to do is come in and actually make sure that you know what each of these layers are. Any groups that actually exist in there, you can actually come in and remove those groups by just simply deleting the group, just the group only. That way all of the rest of my layers. But again, kind of like I always do, I go in and turn everything else off so that I have all of my information. Anything else that I want available to me, I go ahead and create a backdrop to all of this. Oops. Come on, image right there. All right, so backdrop behind all of this or anything else that I'm putting in there. Again, one of the things I told you before is, and this is going to be up and available on the website, is that there's a new and improved high-resolution aerial photograph that I will provide you of the site. And I'm actually I'm gonna clip it down right here in front of you right now, just so you know where it's coming from. This one was actually downloaded through the Indiana map, is where I located the image, and have brought it in. Let's go ahead and show you the entire site now. It is a very high resolution photo. I am going to go ahead and change up the resolution and the size real quick. I want that at 200, and I want it to be about 15, somewhere in that range. And you will find this uploaded onto, you should find this within your base data information that's hiding out in here. I'm just going to call this updated aerial. And you can copy this in and replace the other aerial photograph so that you get this all lined up where it belongs. Other than that, I'm going to leave the rest of this up to you to sort through and figure out how to turn this into a final map. Good luck, and let me know if anything else comes up.